The second thing is that we must have a good work-life balance. You must have flexible work arrangements so that it's easier for women to have both, to work and to have children. And you must have family-friendly employers who will make this happen, so that they make the practical arrangements, and their attitude when you go, they don't make a sour face and they don't make you feel a little black mark recorded in your annual confidential report. It makes a big difference, and with a bit of effort and imagination you can do a lot. You can provide nursing rooms so that mothers who are lactating can express the milk and store the bottles. You can allow telecommuting and be flexible about it, so long as the work is done. In fact, one company I know of actually allowed one employee to go all the way to Australia with her husband and telecommute from Australia and continue to be paid and do the work. And then she came back and she resumed her job. You can find ways around having them physically present. So one catering company, which has a lot of outdoor catering over weekends, outside catering, supplied their staff with walkie-talkies and with BlackBerries, so that they don't have to be physically there. They can be with their family, they can go out, but they can keep an eye on the catering arrangements, make sure things don't go wrong. I think such employers we should recognize and thank publicly, and MOM and MCYS will make a special effort to do that. The government will help to share some of this burden of the employers. For example, with maternity leave, we used to be 8 weeks, we extended this by 4 weeks, now it's 12, and the extra 4 weeks the government was paying. And I think it has been very much welcomed by people. So now about 3/4 of women actually take 12 weeks maternity leave. But if you've ever managed a baby, you will know that actually 12 weeks is not very long. So I think what we should do is to increase it to 16 weeks. And this last 4 weeks, I think we give some flexibility. Don't make it necessarily all at the beginning. It can be any time in the first year, and the government pays for this 4 weeks also. But I would say, whatever the leave arrangements and what the government carries, ultimately the woman or the man must make a personal choice. Do you work 110% on your career, or do you set aside time for other activities for a balanced life? I think each person has to decide his or her own point of balance. I remember my own experience. I'm a beneficiary of this. My mother was a lawyer, but every day she came home to have lunch with us. So every day we come home from school, 3 of us, my mother is there, we have lunch. Nowadays you would call it quality time. This was before people invented such big words. All it meant was she had time for us, we had time to talk to her. And it was a tremendous help. She avoided going out at night for functions. She had to go for accompanying my father, but business functions very seldom. What it meant is less takings as a lawyer, less work, less conveyancing. But she decided that children were more important to her. And she acted on that, and I think she was happy with that. And we are definitely very grateful for that. Today, it's harder to do this. The office hours are longer. The pace is more intense. People call them office hours. You must put quotes there, because it starts in the morning but doesn't finish after dinner. And at home you're working, on holidays you're working too, on email or BlackBerry or whatever. But despite this, I think you have to maintain a balanced, fulfilling life, and you have to keep a pace which is sustainable, not just for 1-2 years and you burn out, but for a lifetime, and you are in balance, equilibrium, and at the end of your life, or when you retire, you say, I'm satisfied. I've had a good career, I've taken care of my family, I've brought up children. This is what life is about. Work-life balance also applies to the children. I know a lot of parents complain about stress on their children, and especially complain because they say the education system causes the stress. We've trimmed the school syllabi, teach less, learn more. But parents are still sending children. They want their children to do that extra little bit more. So enrichment classes, tuition classes, all sorts of programs. And before exams, they feed the children chicken essence. So I see advertisements for chicken essence with kids in school uniforms prominently displayed outside schools. I think some pressure is inevitable. It's part of Singapore's competitive spirit. Other East Asian societies are even more ruthlessly competitive. If you look at the Koreans with their cram schools, or the Japanese, they have jukus, I think they call them. The Hong Kongers. I just read one article about the Koreans. They go there, they inspect your bag. No frivolous magazines, no handphones, no lipstick. You go in, no making friends with boys and girls. It's like a prison. And every day they have 1 hour of rest. Every week they have 2 hours on the weekend to get into the right university. We are not like that. We have some stress, but we should manage it. We should take it in our stride. It's natural for parents to worry about children and to encourage them to work hard and do better. But we also need to understand them, to know that every child has different aptitudes, different talents, to give them space to grow up, to let them learn and mature in their own time. Press them to do better, but also know them and let them develop the way their nature inclines them to develop. In many directions. It may not be academic, maybe sports, maybe arts, maybe music, but let them go with their nature.